Welcome
Hmm.
back to the BB-Scho, ladies and gentlemen. As always, I'm your host Beebs. I'm here with my co-host Chen. We're here for some week 10 predictions. You know, classic prediction Thursday. But I'll throw it to you. Kick off a little week 9 primetime recap. We'll start with Sunday night. Tennessee goes into Kansas City, takes them to overtime. What are your thoughts here?
Definitely have been sleeping on the Titans. I obviously they're my pick to win the South, and the way things are going, it actually seems like that's going to happen after kind of a rocky start to the year. But this is kind of who we know them to be. If it's a low scoring game, they'll hang in there. They'll keep it close. If it's high scoring, they just don't have the firepower to keep in it. Um, which is kind of been my thing with Derrick Henry is like I remember way when we started, beginning of the season, I made the comparison of like at certain points, Derrick Henry is like Ben Simmons because he's not usable in certain situations. That's clearly not true because Ben Simmons just stinks. But Derrick Henry, like, it's and again, it's not like you can't have him in on passing downs. It's just when that's like your game plan is pounding the rock, the West Coast check. They don't go deep. They don't stretch the field. That's not their MO. So that the game itself, I guess, didn't surprise me. I thought the Chiefs would have had more of their way with the Titans corners. I know that's been a weak spot for them all year. But overall, Chiefs found a way to win like they have been all year long. The Titans still are competitive. I think both these teams are going to be playoff contenders. Chiefs obviously way more than the Titans due to just, their roster is loaded, but the Titans are well coached. They know who they are, and I'll give them that respect.
Yeah, I think that what comes with such a dominant running attack is, and oftentimes people forget this, is clock usage. Time of
Yeah,
possession. So when Mahomes
shortens the
inherently
game.
gets 3 or 4 less possessions, the game's going to be closer if you have a weak secondary, a weak corner. And I think that's the bottom line. Yeah, I've definitely been sleeping on Tennessee. I am definitely not sold on Malik Willis. I
No,
looked really bad at the end of the game. I don't think this team has what it takes to win a Super Bowl. I will still say that, but they will win the South at this point. It looks like, for a lack of a
yeah,
better alternative for that division. But yeah, I don't have much to say. If there's a recipe to beat Kansas City, it's pounding the rock. And to go into KC and lose by 3 in overtime, that's, if they have Tannehill, is he healthy? Like, did he just get benched, or
he's
is he?
kind of like day to day. I don't know what's been bothering him. I don't think he got benched though. Malik Willis hasn't shown anything that you know
Yeah,
proves he should start, and this
yeah. So
team is still
if
contending.
they have Tannehill for that final, overtime drive, it's not going to look like 2 sacks and a 4th and 30, whatever it was.
That's very true. Yeah, that was. I was just kind of concerning the really just no awareness out of Malik Willis, and I believe he was drafted out of Liberty. So like it's a very small school. It was more of you drafted the guy for talent. But yeah, he clearly showed his rookie in him.
Yeah,
That's all I can say on Sunday night. But
yeah.
again, Titans played really well for the circumstances, especially like you mentioned, going into Kansas City. Hats off to them. They're still, I believe, 5-4, so it doesn't even affect them that all that much. The other primetime game, which I thought personally was going to be a bit closer. I don't
Yeah.
know if you had any thoughts on that.
Well, I picked the Saints
I
to win
knew
the
the Ravens
game,
were in.
so
Oh,
yeah.
eesh,
I
yeah.
uh, I mean, it was in New Orleans. They've been playing good. They just blown out the Raiders. I don't regret the pick, but I think the Ravens just proved that they're on top of the division right now. They're the team to beat in the AFC North. I think that there's a clear any doubts I had about the Ravens, they answered. If that makes sense.
I mean, I don't know if beating the Saints, answers all questions,
Well, I mean,
but
it doesn't answer the question. I'll rephrase. It doesn't answer the question of can they beat Buffalo or KC in the playoffs, but what it does is
yeah,
it answers the question of are they a top tier, top three, top four team in AFC, and the answer is yes.
they're continuing to roll. Yeah, I would say they're continuing to roll. As much as I've given the Saints some praise, they're also like looking at the personnel and whatnot, more the year goes on, especially losing Mike Thomas, his team is like again, it's good for the Ravens and the way they did it in fashion. Like it, I agree, it solidifies them as it's they're a top team in the AFC. It's just I do think the Saints are going to start to fall off here, if you will. I don't think they have the guys, the motivation, quite frankly. It seems like they're kind of be the odd ones out in the division. Given I know Tampa Bay is bad, but it kind of seems like they're going to find a way to kind of keep this thing close with the Falcons. But
Yeah, I
we'll
could see
see.
that.
I really think the Saints should try and get their next Drew Brees here. I kind of like the Colts are in now. You win a couple games, you realize what you got. Now it's just kind of the race to who's going to fall to the bottom because the Texans got everybody beat right now. But if it's my understanding, I don't know if there's any maybe Detroit like 2-win teams right now. It seems like the next like worst team is like 3 and something,
Detroit has two
and
wins.
they have 2. So I believe it's Texans, Detroit, but then even like as bad as like the Panthers have been, like all those teams got 3 wins. So um that'll obviously transition in the segment we're about to get into if you have any closing remarks.
No,
But
I think that honestly, this Saints Ravens game, I said my piece. The Ravens have just solidified themselves as an AFC contender. I don't know if they're a favorite, but they're a contender. Um, given the right situation, they could find themselves sneaking into the AFC Championship and then potentially the Super Bowl like Cincinnati did last year. But yeah, I think that we can pivot into this new segment. It's the middle of the season. This was your idea. I kind of like it, but we're going to call it Dead or Alive. And basically, we're going to name teams and discuss if they are dead or if they are alive, if they have a
yeah,
chance. It's
very simple
pretty
concept, but
self-explanatory here.
yeah.
I guess I'll start you off. Um, I'll start you off. Green Bay Packers. I kind of want to hear you say it
Yeah, I know you. Yeah, this is
because you guys know. To me, it's dead.
because
But
yeah, and I guess the other thing I can really do is put on my clown face and play devil's advocate here. The reason that they could potentially still be alive is just because they have 12 on the roster. They are younger, they're really banged up. Hopefully, some of those guys come back. They do play in a weaker division with some weak games left. They have some tough matchups as well. I think if they can get either Dallas or Philly, if they can win one of those games, and like Rodgers has done before, run the table. Um, I would say in terms of like, how alive are they? They're currently in the coffin with the casket door open. Um, and it's basically on Rodgers and that offense to pull them out.
they're at the crash site and the CPR is being performed on them for at
Quite
least 45
literally.
seconds now, and the guy standing going like this is starting to give up.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like that guy might have to get out the, electric stim type deal. But yeah, so is you know as logically and as they're pretty close to dead. I'm gonna stay they're still alive, but
Yeah, I'm gonna say the Packers are dead. Aaron Jones is out
yeah,
this week, I think,
and I'm pretty sure Rashawn Gary tore his
and
ACL.
Rashawn Gary
Actually,
hurts
I'm
ACL.
very
So
sure.
season's over. All right, how about this discussion? Tampa Bay.
I actually think they're very much alive. That's really just
I
due to the
do
fact of
too.
their division. It was just
I think it was Nick Wright on First Take. It's going viral now, but he's so right. He says something. He's like, "It's gonna make me so mad when January comes around. Tom Brady gets into the playoffs at 8-9. He has to go to Daniel Jones. Then he has to play Geno Smith, and then he's gonna play Kirk Cousins, and he's gonna go to his 11th Super Bowl." And I was like,
wow.
"Wow." That's
Yeah,
highly
that's
likely.
that's a pretty good outlook. And listen, I mean it's for the reason that I basically kept the Packers alive. They Aaron Rodgers. I mean Brady has been better. As much people like, oh, he's having a down year or whatever. Like Rodgers is like having a down year, not only to his standards, but like to league standards. Like he's just not as great. Um, Interceptions have been way up. But like Brady has quietly been doing just fine. They keep throwing the ball 50 plus times a game. I mean, that does not show anything of slowing down, having a down year. They're still going to rely on him. And eventually, if you just keep doing it, it'll just keep getting more in rhythm. It's Tom Brady. Like we've seen this story before all the time. To write him off just kind of feels foolish. And again, given the division standings right now, yeah, are we have to talk about it because they're below 500 for sure. But I think they're probably the most alive out of the teams we're going to talk about, quite honestly.
I have to agree. I think they're alive. I don't know if I'm as sold as you are because there are clear issues. It's not like they're to me. It's not like they're coming out and losing these close games, and we're just like, oh,
No,
they're
I
right
don't
there. They have clear issues, like getting blown out by the Panthers. Like they have roster issues that I don't think need can be ignored. Because
for
Tom
sure.
Brady has always been able to run the ball in the playoffs, and that's what his and always had a solid defense. And while the defense is average, their run game is bottom of the league. So I do have concerns, but yes, I think their season is alive solely based off their lack of division competition.
Well, right. And even going along with Nick Wright's take, like let's say he faces the Giants, gets that, win because they're a young team. Say they upset Seattle, will go in there, which even then I feel like is a
They
little
won't be
unlikely at
if
this
they see
point.
Philly.
I was thinking that. I was like, Kirk in the conference championship, if it happens, great. But again, it's prime time. Like we got to be real here. I do think Philly would take them down. I really do. Just the way that team is constructed. And they faced Buccaneers last year in the wild card. They already
Yeah,
got some experience in Tampa. That team at home this year, I don't think they, lose per se. But we can pivot to we'll do a couple more of these that are relevant, right? Like there's no point going over like Texans or teams that are like kind of on the bubble, and technically the Rams are still on the bubble. Do you think they're alive in the sense like they have a real
no,
shot schedule, like they're
no, their
dead?
season, they're dead. They
If
they
nothing's looking well for them right
nothing's
now.
at least with the Buccaneers. You have they showed life at the end of the Rams game, ironically,
Yeah.
and won and found a way to win, right? And they have Tom Brady. The Rams have a historically losing quarterback. I love Stafford, but let's just say it like it is. Historically, he's had a lot of losing seasons. They have a terrible O line, a mediocre defense, a no offensive weapons outside of one guy, and a head coach who's probably going to retire. They have no picks. They have no future. They went all in for the Super Bowl. They got it, and you can wonder if it's worth it. I would obviously say yes, but yeah, their season's dead, and especially because not only for them to make the playoffs, but they have to somehow find a way to. They're not going to win the division at this point, so they'd have to find a way to get in a wild card. And to do that, they'd likely have to be second in their division. And what I'm trying to get at is they're third, and the Seahawks are better than them, as are the Niners. They're not even in
Right.
the division race here. So the Seahawks and Niners are already going to occupy one of those wild card spots. Now you're asking the rest of the NFC, which is all mediocre. Um, I just I don't see it.
Mm.
I don't see the vision.
Well, I guess that's my question though, is so let's just lay it out objectively here. Eagles and Cowboys, Seahawks, Niners. That's four. You got I'm sorry, Vikings.
Yeah,
That's five,
you forgot about the Giants in the NFC East.
and it's Giants. All right, so that's
That's six.
six, and then you got the division winner of the South.
Yeah. So they would
So
have to
essentially,
realistically have more wins than two of the NFC East teams.
yeah, which is this point, not looking likely,
And
and
the
they're
Seahawks are
not going to
Niners.
leapfrog. Right. I don't think they even get close to leapfrogging the Niners. And the Niners probably one of the best 4-4 teams like
Yeah.
I've seen in a while. Obviously, this McCaffrey trade helps that, but
Yeah, it does
yeah,
a
no,
lot.
it's
Yeah, I got one for you. Speaking of, now that we laid out the NFC playoff picture, this is a little bit different. Um, but I'm interested to hear your spot here. Chicago Bears.
yeah, just kind of how we laid it out. They're still dead. I know we've seen like signs, but it's just kind of like Detroit, where like they can't really win games either. As better as they've looked, we gotta
Yeah.
understand how bad they looked in the beginning of the season. Like they were completely dead before we even got to this point. It's nice seeing Fields. It's nice seeing, the team improve for Bears fans. Obviously, I could care less. But yeah, I'm just not the wins and the NFC. Just they're not going to get
Oh
a wild
wow.
card spot
The Bears
realistically.
the Bears still have the Eagles and the Bills on their schedule, as well as Packers and Vikings and the Jets.
Yeah.
And say what you want about the
So
Jets. So yeah, they're not beating the
not
Eagles,
looking
Bills,
good.
or Vikings. So um
Hmm. I think I got like one more, and we can
I got
transition over.
yeah, I got maybe one more too. So go ahead.
Yeah. Because again, it's got to be talked about, just due to the fact of it's AFC, to the wild AFC. Hang in with me here, because the records, we gotta stack up the records. It's
Are
got
you
to be
actually
said.
are you actually about to bring up the Broncos?
I'm not.
Okay, good.
I almost did.
Okay, good.
I'm gonna bring up the Raiders, and here's why.
Oh God.
The Raiders,
Oh God.
as sad as this seems, like just this team just feels, sounds, has done. They still, in terms of like teams that are below 500, I feel like have the most talented roster. And all it takes is a crazy second half run. They finish at a while like 10-7, 9-8, grab that last spot, and they're in.
What's their record
Because
right now?
it might be 2-6. They actually
Dude.
might be the other two-win team. But you gotta understand here that the AFC, I feel like they're wild card spots. I think there's gonna be like one that's, I think the like first two, because the AFC East is gonna fill out a lot of that. It's really just depends on if the Raiders are gonna catch the Chargers, which we've seen the Chargers choke every year. That's pretty much why I'm even throwing this out there. We know the Broncos aren't a threat.
Yeah, I'm just gonna
The
pump the
South is
brakes on
only the
you. I'm
South
not
is
gonna
only
let
gonna
you.
send one.
No, you're not. You're not. We're stopping this right now. The Raiders are 2-6. Their last two games are a loss to the Jaguars, who also were a 2-win team, and a shutout loss to the Saints, who are also a 2 or 3 win team. Um, we can go down this road. We've both slandered Josh McDaniels enough. The Raiders, realistically looking at their schedule, they still have to play the Chiefs again. I don't know if
Which they always play well, but yeah.
their schedule reads like this: Colts, Broncos, Seahawks, Chargers, Rams, Patriots, Steelers, Niners, Chiefs. I see maybe 2 wins on there for the Raiders.
Yeah, see, and that's where you're wrong. I saw like 2 wins right away.
Okay, maybe they can beat the Colts. Maybe.
I
Maybe they
am
can beat the
picking the
Broncos.
Raiders right
Maybe
away,
they
and
can
I'm
beat the
picking the Raiders,
Broncos.
man.
They're not beating the
That's
Seahawks. They're not beating the Chargers. They're okay. I'll give you maybe the Rams. Patriots. I don't think they'll beat the Patriots. Steelers, probably okay. So 3 or 4 wins.
they got wins there, and I'm saying if
That's
they get
three
a
or
lucky
four,
win,
3 or 4 maybe wins. Let's say it's 4 maybe wins. That's 6 wins on the season, dude.
yeah, they're 6-6.
So
So
you're
they're back to
saying to
500.
get to
I'm
7 and 9,
saying
they would have to beat either Seattle, New England, San Francisco,
New England is not that
or Kansas
intimidating.
City. Let me Double
And
check the
Kansas
New
City, I
England
feel
one.
like they usually split.
Sorry,
They played them tight.
swap New England for the Chargers. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, and even that, it's like the Chargers.
That's just
But,
hoping they sneak in at 7-9. They still have
I
to
mean,
leapfrog the Chargers in all the other weeks, while the Chargers have a 2-game head start.
2 games is not a whole lot. It's not a whole lot. They play the 49ers this week. They're about to make up a game right now this week. The Raiders are going to beat the Colts, and the Niners are going to lose to the Chargers. Or I'm sorry, the Chargers are going to lose to the Niners. And we're going to be talking about this probably 2 weeks from now.
The Raiders season is dead. They're going to lose to the Colts.
You can say it, but they're
going to lose to the Colts, and they're going to not have a head coach on Monday.
You can say I read an article today, apparently inside source from the Raiders was like Josh isn't going anywhere. He's going to get at least one more year.
This is what we've been. What's the sudden change of heart here regarding Josh McDaniel's future?
Oh, I still think he stinks, and I think he's
coach here.
No, and I said he should be done after a year, but I was like, they're not. They're going to give him another year because
that doesn't change the fact that he stinks, and they're going.
No, but I'm at one point, like the players might find a way, and given they have a more easier schedule compared to the rest of the league. And again, it's dead or alive. Like we're trying to take flyers on teams that have shown the first half of the season, well, they stink. I mean, all the teams we talked about.
The Raiders season is most definitely dead. They're 2-6.
I think it's like the Packers. Like they're not mathematically out of it, and the coffin is open, but they literally they have to do something now.
No,
they're plain and simple.
The Packers are still on the crash site. The Raiders are in the morgue.
From what though? Because the Packers
one less win,
and the Packers have a harder schedule. That's what I'm saying. Like the Packers are going to be.
You're right. I said the Packers were dead. The Raiders are just deader.
We'll see. We can move on, but it's. Listen, I'm not saying this team's good, and they're probably going to be.
Here, I'll say it like this.
Like the odds are not in their favor.
The Packers' coffin is sitting in the grave. They're all standing around it, and nobody's put up any dirt on it yet. The Raiders have about a foot of dirt above their closed coffin, and everybody's kind of sad and crying.
And Josh Jacobs, Devontae, they're gonna burst right on out of there. Save the Raiders season.
Yeah, they're going to jump out, and then the ghost of Josh McDaniel is going to grab their ankle and rip them right back into the coffin. This is
it's honestly,
I can't believe we're even
realistic
about this. This is
it's worth the conversation. It's worth it. Wow. There's a team in the beginning of the year.
I have another AFC team of question to move on. They ironically beat the Raiders last week. Is the Jaguar season dead or alive?
Well, they're dead in the sense that they don't have the personnel to make up the wins.
They just beat the Raiders going down 17-0 in the first half.
But this is what I'm trying to get at. The Raiders have the talent to go
real fantasy football is not real football.
I understand that, but I am watching real football. I watched them go up in Kansas City and would have got it done if it weren't for coaching. At a certain point, the coach, Derek Carr, is just going to say, screw it. At a certain point, he's just going to start going to Devontae. At a certain point, things have to go a different direction. They have the ability to because of the players. What are the Jags going to do differently that's going to make them all of a sudden a playoff team?
We're talking about
the Raiders.
We're talking about simple mathematics here. If that window is open, they have to leapfrog the Jaguars because the Jaguars beat them head to head. If the window for a 7-9 team to get into the AFC playoffs is open,
it would be 8-9, so 17 weeks. And in terms of there being the window open per se, I don't think the Jaguars are going to gain wins. They're just going to keep losing. We're going on the sense of if the Raiders were to make a run, they only team I feel like we talked about that have the players that could go in week to week and upset people. All these teams, we know who the Jaguars are at this point. Trevor Lawrence is still. Davis Mills has been a better prospect so far. That can be a hot take. But go check the stats.
My God.
Check the stats. He works with less.
Shut up.
You can say it all you want.
Ridiculous.
You can say it all you want. But
I'm not even
Lawrence shown anything? You can, though.
Shown anything?
Pull up the receipts.
Yeah, okay, I will. I will.
Go check Davis Mills' career numbers right now compared to Trevor Lawrence. And then even if it's Trevor Lawrence is minusculely better, Trevor Lawrence has a lot more to work with than Davis Mills, whose team is literally trying to get the number one pick every single year. And his wideouts consist of Brandon Cooks, and I don't know who else. And Brandon Cooks doesn't even want to be there either.
Davis Mills, last year, 16 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. This year, 10 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Let's look up Trevor Lawrence.
26 and 18.
26 and 18. Okay. Pro Football Reference. Trevor Lawrence. 23 and 23.
Yeah.
3,600 yards last year from Trevor Lawrence. Davis Mills had 2,600 yards.
What starts? I
roughly the same completion percentage. This year, Davis Mills has 1,600 passing yards. Lawrence has 2,000. This year, Lawrence has 11 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Lawrence has clearly been the better quarterback this year. That is leaping off the page. You can make the debate about last year because Lawrence was 12 and 17 touchdown interceptions. But this year, 11-6 definitely beats out 10-8 with an extra 500 yards passing. And then
beats it out.
Completion percentage is relatively the same. Career wins.
I believe the Texans had a bye in there, though. The Texans had a bye, and then I'm pretty sure that I think anyone can concur that Jags have a lot better prospects on that team. Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram.
This is a completely blasphemous take.
How?
Because Trevor Lawrence has. You want to talk about prospects? He has it. He just is developing. Davis Mills has no shot at being in this league in 2 years. No shot.
You don't think he's just going to at least hang around as at least a game manager?
As a starter.
Like,
he could be a back. I'll give you a backup. But
he's managing literally the worst offense like I've probably ever seen in my life.
Yeah, they're terrible.
Keep it going. Yeah,
like the Jaguars have been in close games with a bunch of good teams.
His numbers are still like respectable and literally comparable to Trevor Lawrence. And it's like
they're not comparable. He's throwing more interceptions and less touchdowns this year, and 500 less touchdowns.
And the 2 more picks because I don't know, his team is crap.
And
the Texans have had their bye, so you're factoring in 500 yards. Like Davis Mills, let's on average 250, so you cut that down. That is not that big of a gap. It's not this monumental.
This is the most Kendrick Perkins thing I've ever heard you say right here.
You can say that, but like that's something else other than just like it's Trevor Lawrence. Like we just read
no. Trevor Lawrence shows better points in the pocket. He takes care of the ball better this year. They both have poor offense.
Fumbles. You should check the fumbles loss too, because I'm pretty sure that.
Okay, you want to start making exceptions? Let's go talk about the monsoon game. That's going to spike his fumble numbers when he was playing in the rain. Like.
It's one game that he also gained yards. Like we can go back and forth all day, but at the end of the you're basically just banking on it's Trevor Lawrence. He's gonna be better when the reality is he's shown no reason of that. The reason they're not winning games and closing out is because of Trevor Lawrence. ATN's been fine. The run game's been fine.
Davis Mills QBR last year was 35.5. This year's 32.8. Last year Lawrence was 71. Wrong column. Sorry. Last year was 33.5. This year it's 50.9. Clear improvement. He, I guess I can't use the sack number because the season's not over, so never mind. But
it's worth discussion. I don't like just writing it off.
It's not worth discussion. It's not. What's the core question? Who's a better prospect at this point?
Not only better prospect, just Davis Mills has been a better quarterback. That's been my take.
This year, like Trevor Lawrence beats him in every single
overall, like in terms
Trevor
of
Lawrence beats him in team wins, QBR, touchdowns, interceptions, passing percentage, yards. I mean, what are we talking about here?
By a bit. It's like a bit, and when you
we're talking about 20% in QBR. 20 points in QBR.
Okay, QBR that's an objective. You can look at that, and Russell Wilson will look better. Flip the 2 guys in scenarios. The Jaguars probably going to win a win or 2 because if anything, at least they would just stick to the ground game, just because of like prospect who this is. But I guarantee you, if Trevor Lawrence was on the Texans, that 12 and actually, I don't know. The Texans are pretty much the same as Jaguars last year. But like this year, Trevor Lawrence is doing the same thing. And I'm saying Davis Mills has been like at least above average his entire career. Trevor Lawrence is starting to like come up, but like
Stop
so
letting
far,
no,
Davis
no. What
Mills
you're
has
doing is
proven
you're
more.
letting expectations define what average is here. By saying that Davis
Yeah,
Mills
and
is
I
an above average quarterback, you are I'm assuming you're referring to his lack thereof high expectations. Am I correct?
nor lack of anything around him.
Okay,
Like
so
you
you're
can't put
actually
any.
saying that in the NFL, ranking 32 starting quarterbacks, I'll even give, you would put Davis Mills in the top 16.
Yeah, see, but I wouldn't put Trevor Lawrence there either.
But you said that Davis Mills was an above average quarterback.
And we could say the same for like Trevor Lawrence in theory.
No,
It's
no,
like
I'm
they're both
asking about Davis. I'm clarifying what you meant by saying that Davis Mills is an above average quarterback.
in terms of like what he can do.
So
Like I think
it's relative to his
like they're
expectations.
again
It's
they're
relative to his
from the same
expectations.
class.
You want to talk about Trevor Lawrence being a disappointment or a bust at this point? I'm all for having that conversation. But to
Yeah,
compare him to Davis Mills and say that Mills is by and large a better quarterback at this point is ridiculous. It goes against all scouting perspective, all eye tests, all statistical tests. There's no measure in which you can point there other than their performance relative to their expectations. It's the same thing as the Geno Smith phenomenon.
the eye test last year would definitely say otherwise, and everything last year would say otherwise. We got a couple more games that were better for Trevor Lawrence. We'll see how the rest of the season goes. I'm just saying Davis Mills is not that far off. Plain and simple. To just shut it down and be like he's nowhere near. I will agree. Like so far, Trevor Lawrence because he's 6'6", number one pick, like is going to be the better guy. We'll see how the rest of the season plays out. If the Jaguars stay on this path of can't win games and whatever, and they're same spot as the Texans, I'd ask questions. Like the Jaguars, how long are they going to tank? What more they need to put around this dude? Texans, I feel like if they, yeah, you put in a superstar quarterback, I don't know, maybe they win more games, but like I think if you put a roster around Davis Mills, they might get something done. They tried to put a roster on Trevor Lawrence this year, and it's hasn't even
Oh
panned
my
out with a
gosh.
Super Bowl winning coach.
Are we really going there in year one of Doug Peterson when the roster around him has been Christian Kirk, who was a wide receiver 3 in
It's far
Arizona?
better.
I'm not saying it's not better
You
than the
like Christian
Texans.
Kirk this year.
I'm not saying it's not better than the
You
Texans.
like we start
I
off
agree. I do, yes, but I'm
far better than the Texans.
saying Christian Kirk. You want to talk about wide receiver ones on a team? He's in the bottom 7. It is a bottom 7
wide receiver
worst
one.
receiving room in the league, barring Calvin Ridley. We can't talk about him yet, obviously. But
say
say
Bears,
what you want about
Falcons. I could probably get some more,
I think it's fair to say ETN and Pierce are a wash.
At this moment, yeah.
Okay.
That's fair.
I'm taking Brandon Cooks. Granted, he hasn't played that much this year, so I'll give you that.
Yeah,
I'm taking Brandon Cooks every other year of their careers besides this injury-riddled year or whatever his personal issues are.
That's fine. We're talking about every year. Like that's what Davis Mills has been working with this year. He's literally like in minimal time with Brandon Cooks, and then whoever they got behind him.
I mean, the Texans have a Super Bowl coach. You want to go down this road?
In 2006, Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl 2 or 3 years ago. Are you really gonna? Don't do our viewers this disservice. You're smiling because you know what you're doing.
Well, you want to play that card. Both of their coaches are in their first year. That's what I'm trying to say to you.
And Lovie Smith was good as a coach 2006. They just threw him in. He's probably going to get fired after this year. No one wanted that job.
Lovie Smith was in the NFC Championship in 2010. He should have never been fired. I think all Bears fans.
Years ago.
But he should have never been fired by the Bears.
And then he couldn't even coach Illinois anymore.
There's a number of NFL coaches who can't coach college football. And vice versa. And you would agree with that.
And that's a fair take. But to act like Lovie Smith is like Doug Peterson really shouldn't have been fired. Bro got fired like the year after he won a Super Bowl.
I'm not disagreeing that both of them shouldn't have been fired.
Like Doug
I'm not
Peterson,
disagreeing.
actually, I hold him in high regards, like in terms of coaching, like ability. If you can get Nick Foles to go nuts in the Super Bowl against Bill Belichick, I'm gonna hold you in high
I would
regards.
agree. I'm simply making the point that both coaches are in their first year.
That's a that's a great objective take. I just think Doug Peterson is far and away better.
Okay.
Far and away better. Like that's what I'm saying.
Well,
The
they've
Jaguars
won more
just
games
overall
this
are
year.
so much.
So
There's one more game. Yes, and I was saying they're far much. They have so much more, and it's like to only be a game of the
you are
Texans.
severely grossing using this point that the Jaguars have so much more, and I don't know what you're referring to.
The first couple weeks were on pod. We were like, dang, this team might be able to go somewhere. It's like 7, 8
I'm
wins.
not disagreeing,
Like
but that
we
was
thought there was something, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, they're getting out some of these games they can't
point to a
finish.
position where the Jaguars have so much more than the Texans.
Position. We just ran through it. Their receivers are way better, which is kind of the point of our whole quarterback debate. I don't know who the Texans tight end is. They got Evan Ingram, who's need for speed there. Yeah, the running backs cancel out, but the Texans line again is crap. Trevor Lawrence has definitely been better protected this year. Everyone can say that. They got another. I don't know the dude's name. It was Devin Lloyd on the Jags. I think they got Josh Allen. Like they actually have talent on the defensive side of the ball. When the Texans again couldn't name it to you, the days of J.J. Watt and whoever are gone. Like like name me 5-10 players in the Texans roster. I'm good with names, and to be honest with you, I maybe at 5 or 6. Like that's what I'm saying. Like it's vast in the sense that like only a 1-win difference is concerning. And yes, Trevor Lawrence statistically this year has played a little bit better, but given the circumstances, I don't think it's far and away like, oh, he's so much better than Davis Mills. I think Davis Mills is behind him right now for sure, but like it's gonna be a comparison, especially if the end of the year finishes the way it started. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
To be like, oh, this 6'4" kid who's got some intangibles, a better overall prospect than Lawrence. Yeah, I could see why that's not really considerable. But so far, what we've seen, I mean, we see it with Fields. It can switch at any time. It
I
was a
would
couple
agree.
weeks
I definitely
ago
agree with that
that
Fields point.
was like Fields right now is the number one QB in that class. And that was literally from a couple weeks of performance. But you see, oh, this guy is going to be capable of leading team in the future. I just have yet to see that with Lawrence. And I'm saying, well, hey, if
I
Davis Mills
have.
can do a little bit with the Texans, if he can just bridge team for somebody, he's what Baker Mayfield kind of like wants to be is just an efficient dude that can game manage and not lose games. Davis Mills doesn't do that. It's just Texans not having any of it. But we can move on. We've been
Yeah, we
talking
can.
about Davis Mills and Trevor Lawrence for
So
20.
all that to say that the Jaguars season is dead. Then I'm assuming.
Yes. So let's go to the next segment. Jeez.
All
To
right.
no
All right.
dead or alive within there.
All right. We can pivot to Fantasy Frenzy. I'll recap last week's Fantasy Frenzy really quick for you. I ended up winning 155 to 105. Biggest margin of victory yet, I believe. But I was propelled by Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce, Joshua Palmer had solid games, and you just kind of had weird duds. Even I would admit, Kamara and Aaron Jones combining for 15 points. That's just weird. And then Jacobs only put up 11. Amon Ra had 9. Just not good. Your leading scorer was Patty
There's
Mahomes.
nothing.
Your leading scorer Patrick Mahomes had 34, but then Hopkins was your next highest scorer with 13. So if you're gonna pick a bat, I always say in fantasy, if my team's gonna suck, I'd rather have them all suck the same week and just move on than lose by 2. So,
Yeah, very true.
Man,
what's nice is I get the first pick this week.
yes,
I finally lost the head-to-head, so
yeah.
right off
So,
the bat, I'm gonna put my money off
before
this.
you do that, for those of you who are new, obviously Fantasy Frenzy is a game we play. Players that were taken last week cannot be taken this week. It is a season-wide contest. I am currently 2-4. You are 4-2 in head-to-head matchups. After last week, I have taken the lead 912 to 881 in the grand total scoring. So having 2 less losses,
Wow.
still scoring more is kind of weird.
That's fantasy football, though, for you.
Yeah, that is fantasy football. But then a quick rundown of the names are not available. Obviously, this is available. You can see this on our Instagram as well. But No Rodgers, no Mahomes, no Henry, no Kamara, no Jones, no Sanders, Adams, Palmer, Kelsey, Olave, Tucker, and Buffalo defense, and no Hopkins, St. Brown, Everett, Jacobs, Young Hoku, and no Cincinnati defense. With that being said, you do have the first pick. The floor is yours.
Yeah, right away. He's talked about how bad the Texans are. So Saquon Barkley is going to eat. He's coming off the bye. And yeah, I'm just hoping he goes nuts because didn't have that, whole thing going on last week. Hoping to change it up this week.
All right.
Need some boom.
Let me pull up my
no
notes
more busts.
Here. Yeah, no more busts. Let me pull up my notes here because I want to make sure I provide the statistics here for why I'm picking this person. So you picked the Barkley. He's going against the 32nd ranked rush defense. I'm going to take your guy. He's going against the Chargers this week, 31st ranked rushing defense. Christian McCaffrey. This is an obvious. I actually am surprised you didn't take him here.
Nah, I like Saquon more.
But I'm going to take him just to keep you from getting him. I think there's a lot of juicy running back matchups this week. So back to you.
No doubt. There's definitely some juicy running backs, but I do want to pivot to wide out here. Well, no, I don't want to pivot to wide out here. Given the guys, that I got on the board, I'd actually rather take Eckler off the board just due to the fact that I think the 49ers are going to – this game just seems to me that the Chargers are going to be down. And I think it's going to be a lot of PPR points from Eckler. To just be honest with you, even the dude has like 10 catches for 45 yards. That's enough. And if he scores, it's just the volume alone. And just game flow wise, we'll lock out the running backs here.
All right, solid pick. I am going to pivot to receiver, and I'm just going to take the wide receiver 1. He's available, and I'm going to grab your guy again. Playing a little different style of strategy this week, but I'm going to take Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. Is it?
Oh, did I lose you there? You might have lost him. But go ahead.
All right, you can still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Technical difficulties. So yeah, I will take my receiver 1 then here and go with Cooper Kupp. I mean, that's really reliable. As bad as the Rams have been, Cooper Kupp just hasn't. He still just finds a way to produce. Don't know how. Don't care. We'll lock out Cooper Kupp here, and
I'm gonna take my wide receiver 2. And I'm actually gonna go off the script here from what I had written, but I'm looking at this, and I am gonna double check, make sure he wasn't taken last week, and he was not. I'm going to take Stephon Diggs. He's got a good matchup against the Minnesota defense. They're 27th ranked against the pass, and it's a revenge game. So I think they're going to give him the ball, and it's prime time.
Yeah, no, it is a very valid point.
It's a noon game. Never mind. Why isn't this?
Well, yeah, it should be. And honestly, though, the revenge game is a very interesting way to bring that up because I think this guy's going to have something to prove that trading away for the pick they used to get him in Justin Jefferson, he's got to prove why Vikings made the correct decision here. So we will just continue with that philosophy and lock out receiver number 2. Definitely a lot of star power this week, I would say. A lot more than last week, which is kind of how this thing goes. Yeah. Makes it very entertaining.
You like to say it, though. You like to say it. I'm going to make the switch here. So I'm a little. I had Jefferson. If you let him slide, I was definitely taking him in my flex spot and not thinking twice. Yeah. Not thinking twice about it because Hill, Diggs, and Jefferson would have been an incredible lineup. But I'm going to grab my RB2. Give myself time to think about this because I really like this matchup better, and I don't want you to get him for your flex spot before I grab mine. So I'm going to grab Travis Etienne. He's been balling. He's clearly taken the step forward. No James Robinson. He's been over 20 points every week since. And he's got a really solid matchup this week against Kansas City run defense. They're 27th ranked against the rush. So
Solid, very solid. Makes my brain spin a little bit because I'm really debating on flex or QB here, and I'm not really decided on my flex. So hopefully you can take one of the guys I have off the board, and I'm just going to lock out my quarterback here and take Jalen Hurts. I
Interesting.
really just love the idea of having hit like he's going to give me a good floor, plain and simple. I got burned last week a bit, just kind of going for these boom guys, and I feel like Eckler, Hurts, Saquon, like all those dudes should get 20 points realistically. But we'll see. Yeah, even Cooper Kupp and Justin Jefferson. Like in theory, my team should be fine. But
Oh
we'll
well,
throw it
that
to you.
we say that every week, so
That's how this goes.
that's just how it goes, man. I'm gonna play a little hedge game here. You're gonna take Jalen Hurts off the board. I'm gonna put AJ Brown in my flex. He's been
Yeah, that's
he's
fair.
been rolling. They're playing the Commanders. They're 25th against receivers. Just playing a little hedge game, a little strategy game here. That's all. Kind of made the flex decision a little bit easier. It was between AJ Brown and somebody else. So
Yeah, and I kind of feel like that's somebody else. Might have been Nick Chubb.
that's
And
exactly who it was.
yeah, so as you're going wide receiver heavy this week, I will be going running back heavy.
That is
And we'll
a
see which philosophy prevails. But yeah, you're on the clock.
yeah, that is a very solid pick. Now I'm going to take a risk here at tight end. Okay, weird week at tight end. Kelsey's not available. Andrews is, even if he plays, probably not worth the pick. Uh,
Mm,
hasn't been great. However, there is a guy who just got traded to the Vikings, and he got 9
yeah.
targets in his first game with the Vikings. And they're going to be playing Buffalo, which means they're either going to be down and throwing a lot or be in a shootout. I think that bodes well both ways for the game script for TJ
Mm.
Hawkinson, because I just don't see a scenario where the Vikings are running the ball a lot against Buffalo's front. So despite Buffalo being top 10 against tight ends, I'm going to take TJ Hawkinson.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Volume's there.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to just go. Really, just my tight end is going down to this. Uh, I gotta hope Brown doesn't get the targets and Dallas Goedert does. Plain and simple. I
going
don't
for the
really like
hookup.
any of
You
the,
like
I
to
don't know.
see
Yeah,
it.
I don't even like any of the other tight ends this week. And if he's dud, it is what it is. A lot of the tight ends have been. You can see a couple weeks back, it took Mark Andrews. He got me 3. So yeah, not gonna put a whole lot of thought into this one. I'm just gonna pair him up with this QB.
So I'm going to do something very, very interesting. I don't like to do this, but I've got a good feeling. I'm going to grab my defense here. You got your quarterback, so I'll pick my quarterback last. You guys know I like to do that.
Yeah.
The forecast tonight in Carolina is not good. It's going to be a slop fest. It's going to be a lot of running the ball. It's going to be a
Mm.
slow game script or a fast game script in terms of game clock. And I don't think PJ Walker can handle it. And if all you got to do is stop the run, I know that Panthers got a decent rushing attack, but even if they do struggle, they're only going to score like 10 to 14 points.
Yeah, Chuba
Ball's
Hubbard
going
is
to be
that. It's terrifying.
ball's going to be wet, bound to be turnovers. I'm going to take Atlanta's defense and just kind of take a risk based on the weather, but I feel confident. Plus, it's
No,
Thursday night, and Thursday night defenses trend well.
solid pick. Solid pick. Defensively, that opens things up for me. Kind of to be honest with you. I was thinking about Philly given the matchup, and you know, they're just a good defensive team. But I don't know how well that would really bold for my picks. If they dominate defensively, that means they're going to run the ball. So I'm basically contradicting myself if I take Philly's defense. So I'm just going to go with the Saints here.
Yeah, I had the
They've been
Saints
kind of,
written down too.
yeah, they're stingy all year long, and they don't play anything too crazy this week. So we'll just insert them. Hopefully, going to get a nice base of points here. Shouldn't go negative. And yeah, we'll move on to your next selection.
Yeah. So I've had a new strategy this week. I've been a little more aggressive with my picks, taking star names, taking guys that I usually let slide to you because of poor matchups. But this one's just out of pettiness. I'm gonna take Graham Gano for my kicker.
Jeez, man, that's not cool. You knew I was gonna take him. This is my guy.
But he is technically the best kicker, highest projected kicker on ESPN this week. So there is a
As
little
he
bit of
should.
statistical bias.
Yeah, no, he's OP. Um, Dang. Yeah, so that means I gotta go with my backup kicker, which is Daniel Carlson.
That's
He's
who my
fine.
backup kicker was.
Yeah, he's fine. He's gonna, because again, the Raiders poorly coached. They're good enough to get in the range, so it's a low or not low floor, a high floor pick. And that's just kind of what I'm doing in the back end of my draft here. Just secure some points. But who's the quarterback gonna be, man? That's where I'm curious, and because I don't think the Raj pick didn't really matter for you last week. You still won,
I got
but
burned picking Rodgers last week. It was a high risk, high
yeah.
reward play playing against the Detroit defense. I'm actually going to do that again. I'm going to ride the wave. This guy has been the best fantasy quarterback in football the last 4 weeks or so. I'm going to take Justin Fields. Rushing
Oh, okay.
ability.
I thought you were gonna take Rogers again.
No,
I was like,
no.
what?
I'm not taking
Ride
Rodgers.
what way? But okay,
Riding
no,
the
Fields
wave
makes
of
sense.
picking against the Lions defense because I think that Fields is going to do better than Rodgers because he's been a better quarterback than him this year. So, yeah,
Fair enough.
he's been the highest scoring quarterback in football, I think, since like week 6 or 7.
Yeah,
So,
fantasy wise, yeah, he's been like QB1.
yeah, the
Actually, it might
value's
have been,
there,
you can go
especially
back
with
to
the
week
rushing
six,
attack. I mean,
week five.
ran for 170 yards last week. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
42 bomb. And yeah, I mentioned the horror story of Justin Fields and Mixon combo last week. But no, that'll wrap up the fantasy frenzy.
Yeah.
Um,
Quick
I know you're
rundown
probably
of the
gonna.
quick rundown of the teams. I got Fields, McCaffrey, ETN, Hill, Diggs, Hawkinson, Brown, Gano in Atlanta. And you're running with Hurts, Barkley, Eckler, Cup, Jefferson, Goddard, Chubb, Carlson, and New Orleans. Definitely a little more star-studded as I read that back.
Yeah,
Yeah, it should
love
be.
it though. They'll be
Yeah,
entertaining. That means nothing. As much as it's
no,
like, oh, we get stars.
I have players on my
Means
team. I
nothing.
haven't had Tyreek Hill all year. I haven't had Caffrey ones. So
Yeah.
it's a little interesting.
I thought last week, I thought my running backs were gonna, I thought they were great. And here we are. I'm now
Here
back
we are.
under in terms of total score for the year. But yeah, that'll wrap up that segment. I think we can do a little better or worse, run through it and then get our predictions out before
Yeah.
we gotta watch this flop fest of a NFC South showdown.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm game.
but yeah, we can I don't know if
I'm
you
game.
wanna
I'll kick us off.
start
I'll kick you off.
or
We're gonna go better or worse
yeah.
than good old Jimmy G. Better or worse than Jimmy G.
Yeah, Jimmy G, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Coming off the bye,
Okay.
so interesting, interesting week with interesting perspective there, I guess. But first name, and remind this is right now, right now. So first name on the list, Tom Brady.
Yeah, Tom Brady's better.
Right now, this year.
Not even close.
All right.
You
All
see
right.
Jimmy G even getting close to 30 attempts a game?
No,
I'm just
no.
I'm just gonna go into this, and this is
I'm
how I'm
not
gonna rank
arguing
it.
this. I'm not arguing this like I
No,
did
no,
the
no, no. Yeah, I
Lawrence.
just want to get a disclaimer because I know there's gonna be some names. It's like, well, they're losing teams and they haven't had a good year. Jimmy Garoppolo is one of the most overrated quarterbacks in the NFL. Yes, he is a great backup the best backup and probably serviceable starter. But in terms of like, you look at the 49ers offense, Kittle, CMC, Debo Samuel, Kyle Shanahan as your play caller, and this dude is pedestrian every year. You can call it above average.
No,
You can
he
call him
did.
a game manager.
Did go
He
to a
gets
Super
them.
Bowl.
Yeah, he goes to Super. Yeah. But so does Trent Dilfer, Nick Foles. We can go down the line,
Whoa,
right?
whoa, whoa! We don't need to be taking shots at Super Bowl MVP now, do we?
Hey, all I'm saying
You could have
is
used Jared
they didn't.
Goff, and I would have been fine with it. But Nick
Man,
Foles,
Jared Goff, they didn't turn to him. They turned to Sam Ellinger this year to save their season. So and again, I love Nick Foles. He had some good years, but it's that's just my
I'm pretty sure
philosophy.
he's
You
like
put
35 now. Stop with the Sam
well,
Ellinger.
Brady's 46. I mean, at
Okay.
quarterback, it
Well, I
gives you
mean,
some leeway.
Nick Foles is doing he's trying so hard to just father Tom Brady that he's just aged quicker. So um, you can't hold that against him.
Fair
He did it.
enough. Fair
I
enough.
mean,
But yeah,
we
that
do
being
not
said,
condone any Foles slander on this podcast ever, and I will
fair enough.
call
Fair
you out
enough.
for
Man.
that.
All right. No. That's fair. He's a good man. And quite frankly, that's just, but my bottom line is Tom Brady and 49ers would be broken. That team, honestly, I don't think they'd lose a game.
Yeah, that's extremely valid.
So,
Better or worse than Jimmy Garoppolo, Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, Kirk Cousins is basically just improved Jimmy G. I think if Kirk Cousins was in prime time against Jimmy G, that's you could toss a coin up in the air and get the same result. So yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to throw. No, I'm definitely trying to throw shade at Kirk Cousins because listen, it's it like you did with the Spider-Man meme. All right, you're not fooling me. Like Kirk Cousins, I'm
No,
never
I'm picturing the Spider-Man meme where it's Kirk Cousins and Jimmy Garoppolo going like this
just
and pointing at each other.
like it's just noon Jimmy G pointing at primetime Kirk, same thing. So yeah, Kirk, but probably closer than I know a lot of Vikings fans would like to hear.
All right. How about Jimmy G, better or worse than Jared Goff?
Wow. See, now that's an interesting one. If you asked me this a couple weeks into the season, I would say Jared Goff.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't think the Lions are like, yeah, they're a bad team defensively. We've shown like offensively they have the personnel to make things work. Not as good as the 49ers still. But that being said, I'm pretty sure efficiently Jimmy G has been better this year. Overall for his career, he's definitely, besides the one, off, not off season, but like kind of outlier season for Jared Goff where he was like crazy good and went to the Super Bowl, yada, yada, yada. But then they got 3 points in the Super Bowl. So like that's just what I'm saying. It's like honestly, it's kind of a toss up. I'm gonna lean Jimmy G, but like there's some days I'd take Jared Goff. If it's like 7-on-7 and there's like no pressure, I'm taking Jared Goff. I would. But like if it's team with like pass rush, whatever, I'll go with Jimmy G.
All right, that's fair. Better or worse right now, Jimmy Garoppolo or Matt Stafford?
Wow, coming in with the heat. And just because he got a ring last year and like you have to, I
You're playing
can't.
tomorrow. You're playing on them tomorrow. I got you. I
Stafford.
got you right now.
Stafford, but I don't love it. I don't like it because if Stafford was my quarterback tomorrow, I'd be concerned. Unfortunately, their line is not anything close to what it was last year. I think that plays a factor. To say he doesn't have weapons is just slapping Cooper Kupp in the face. And yeah, it's tough. It is really tough for me to just, yeah, Stafford's better, but man, he's not giving any positive things this year. So just because he won the ring and he's got the arm talent, like as a player, he's better than Jimmy G. But so far this year, you could go both ways, depending who you ask.
All right. Couple more, probably two more. Better or worse, Jimmy Garoppolo or PJ Walker?
That's a little disrespectful.
He's provided a spark for him, man.
He gives him a spark.
If we'd have done it a week earlier, I think it would have been a better question. But
it might have been better, but again, I don't want to completely give into the recency bias. I'm gonna just stick with not Stafford, Jimmy G. I'm gonna stick with him.
Jimmy G better or worse than Derek Carr?
Hard to justify this year, But I mean, Derek Carr has been one of the more steady things in Oakland for years. I'm not going to take away from him that he's got a bozo for a head coach. I think it's just a matter of time before he takes things into his own hands. Still going to go Derek Carr.
All right.
But again, like statistically, you're giving a lot of dudes that like you can make a case that Jimmy G is better, especially this year.
One more. You've thrown a lot of shade this guy's way over time. So better or worse, Jimmy G or Kyler Murray?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one because as a player, it's Kyler Murray. Like, clearly, you look at the talent.
But as a quarterback.
Yeah, this year, I'm still giving Kyler the edge because their season hasn't completely crashed and burned, but the play's going down. That's all I'm going to say.
Their season is dead.
It's actually, I think the plane might be touching down right now, and not a safe landing. But ultimately, Kyler Murray, just really due to talent alone, not really anything he's done this year, and maybe even some Hard Knocks bias because I just watched it last night. But yeah,
fair enough. Includes the exercise for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, and I'll run you through just real quick. I know on time it's getting a little dicey here, so we'll go with Najee Harris.
Oh gosh,
because he's, as much as there's been a lot of shade at Jonathan Taylor being like fantasy bust.
I would like to preface
Najee
this
Harris,
by saying that I am one of the people who drafted Najee Harris in the first round this year in one of my leagues.
Yeah,
so I am very up to date in my opinion of Najee Harris.
Yeah, this might be entertaining then. So we'll fire it off right away. Najee Harris or Kenneth Walker?
Kenneth Walker by a mile.
All right, no, I just didn't know if you were going to give him. Yeah, I get he's a rookie, but yeah, okay, we're going strictly off performance this year. Former Steelers running back Najee Harris or James Conner?
Oh, okay. When James Conner now in Arizona, or when he's in Pittsburgh? Okay, in Arizona. Yeah,
like currently, like this season,
they're both struggling this year.
Yeah, like who would you rather have tomorrow?
Probably James Conner. I think that Najee Harris he's just got extreme vision issues. He just doesn't know how to. I mean, the bottom line, go watch the film. He's got vision issues and he doesn't know how to put his shoulder down and go get the first down. He weighs all this weight and he's so strong and he doesn't know how to use it.
Yeah, no, that's it. Huh. Interesting. Because to be honest with you, I thought you were going to say Najee, but the more you say, like, you're not wrong. From what we've seen this year, you're not wrong. And
Najee Harris this year, you're going to be shocked.
Like,
I might not.
I was going to say that kind of takes a lot of the names I had off the list. So we'll dumb it down a bit. Najee Harris or Naheem Hines?
Oh gosh, okay. I'll say Najee Harris for that one. Okay. It's just two completely
how low can we go?
Yeah, how low can we go? Two completely different style running backs, but yeah, I think Hines might be more effective. But there's a reason he's not a bell cow back. So it's Najee Harris.
Okay. Najee Harris or AJ Dillon?
Okay, well, you did find somebody that I think has been worse this year than Najee Harris. He did it twice. I'll go Najee Harris. AJ Dillon has been abysmal this year. You put him in there at 4th and 1, he's not getting. He's not breaking a tackle. He's not running through anybody. He's supposed to be this really big bruiser. And he not only is he, unlike Najee, he actually will put his shoulder down and then he'll just get stopped. I think there's a greater chance of Najee like miraculously making somebody miss on 4th and 1 and getting there than AJ Dillon running through anybody at this point. So,
jeez, yeah, that's a very fair take. I got two more because a lot of these names came right off the list.
How low can you go, man?
Funny these are funny to be able to. Yeah, Najee Harris or Melvin Gordon.
Oh gosh, Najee. You can start raising this. at least Najee doesn't fumble 3 times in like the first 4 weeks or whatever it was. Look, Melvin Gordon can't
Yeah,
even start over Latavius Murray at this point, and they're trading for Chase Edmonds to try and solve their running back issues. They are out
right.
on Melvin Gordon, and while Pittsburgh may be ready to move on to Jalen Warren, I've seen those headlines. They still are not out on Najee Harris being their guy. So, yeah, Najee Harris, you can go a little higher.
Okay. Final, better or worse. This is funny just to say. Honestly, couldn't really tell you at this point. Najee Harris or Trent Richardson in his second year. Very similar
Oh my
examples
gosh,
because Trent Richardson, his rookie year, looked all right too. He was a
the
top
Trent
fantasy
Richardson
pick.
examples.
And
Oh
honestly, when you
man.
brought up the vision issues, not being able to use their weight immediately, I'm like, oh, that's where I've seen that movie before this year. It's Trent Richardson. I've seen that
Yeah,
one.
you're not the first person I've heard that from. I'll give the nod to Najee right now, and I'll fully admit that it's recency bias because we've seen the end of the movie with Trent Richardson, and we haven't with Najee. But
Yeah, he still got a
I could
shot.
see. I've seen the movie before. It's feeling a lot like the first one. The
No
sequel
doubt.
is living up to the hype so far.
Oh boy.
We'll
No,
see.
that's very interesting.
Or should I say, not living up to the hype so far. But
Yeah,
um,
that's for sure.
that's there may be a little bitterness in there because he's put me in a
Well,
bad position towards the bottom of this said league because
I
he was my
realistically, the
first
Steelers
rounder.
can't really. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. Like again, there's the actual bias of like, yeah, like this is my first round and it sucks. But then there's also the like, you're watching this guy, he doesn't utilize his best abilities, and Steelers objectively just can't run the ball as teams here. Like the
Yeah,
going to Warren after year two, it doesn't shock me.
yeah.
Just the way things have panned
Well,
out.
he just doesn't
Shouldn't have to
run like
rely
a
on Pickett.
Steelers running back either. I've always been bruisers. You talk about Bell, but Bell knew how to put his shoulder down. You don't go back to Bettis,
No, he did actually. Yeah,
Parker.
Le'Veon Bell.
He just doesn't fit the culture, and he needs to learn how to. I mean, I don't know if they need an off-season clinic with Jerome Bettis or something, but dude,
Derrick Henry works too.
yeah. But yeah, let's pivot to week 10 picks, huh?
Yeah, this is gonna be exciting.
This is going to be
There's some
exciting.
good ones here.
We'll do a quick recap of week 9 though before we jump in. I finished 9-4. You finished 10-3. So that's
Ah,
you got the Ravens on the what am I
how many
saying? Monday
behind?
night. Monday
Yeah,
night.
Monday night. But how many
Monday night.
behind you am I now?
You are now 2 games back. I am 75 and
2 games
61,
back.
and you are 73 and 63. So comparative to where we both started, we have come a long ways.
Yeah, I would say we're definitely way above 500 at this point.
Yes, we are.
You
We
could
are
get all these picks
looking good
wrong
there.
and
We
still
both
be
did on Tuesday. We both did select the Falcons to win tonight. So let that be
all right.
known. But
Yeah,
London matchup. I'm very interested to see where you go here because I'm just curious.
I think it's
Seattle
gonna be
against
opposite of you.
Bay.
I think it's gonna be opposite of you. I
I'm
actually like
really
Tampa
hoping
here.
you do. Good.
I like Tampa here. I like Seattle is in an unfamiliar environment, and so are the Buccaneers. But Tom Brady, I feel like, is the one that's going to adjust to adversity a lot better than Geno Smith.
That's a fair take.
Objectively, yeah,
The
you
goat
could
take
say
is
like
so fair, but
it's such a like all reliable statement,
I'm picking
So
Seattle based solely off alone of what I've seen this year.
yeah,
And
and they're
what
the
I've
better
seen this
team.
year,
I would
they're a
say
better team.
Buccaneers are probably underdogs, but I like the idea of Brady kind of turning things around. Like it's just only, I feel like, a matter of time with that division. If
That's
they get a win against Seattle, that'd be good. But
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It's a fair argument. Lions in Chicago.
yeah, I think this is where the Bears finally get it done. It's really like which team do you trust more? And considering I don't trust many of them Well, either of them very much. I'm going with the Bears just because the Lions don't know how to win. Um, Maybe if it was in Detroit. They know how to beat the Packers. So in Detroit against Chicago, that might have changed things. But I think this is a really good win for the Bears. Gets their fans pumped up. Fields has another good day, which won't bode well for me in fantasy frenzy. But who are you taking?
I'm
Is
tempted to go Lions, but I'm going to play it safe and go Bears here. I
yeah.
think I agree
So
if it
they're
was in
always
Detroit.
tempting.
Well, and look, I got the win on
It's
them
like
last week over the
yeah,
Packers.
they can get you. It's I hear you. I
um,
do.
and the Packers did beat the Bears. So if we're going scores, Lions would be the pick here. But yeah, I just don't see the Lions going into Chicago and winning. That's my number one concern. They're just not. They're not an elements team from what I've just I just don't feel like it. I don't know. I don't really have any
No, yeah.
statistical evidence
They're
to
a
back
dome
that up
team.
at all. Um,
Oh yeah, they're playing it down. Ford Field.
but I wouldn't be shocked either because the other side of me goes, "Oh, the Lions are coming off a big win against the Packers. It's probably the biggest win in Dan Campbell's era, and they could just roll right into Chicago. And I don't know if I trust Chicago's defense if that Lions offense returns to the form it has been. So I'm actually gonna, but
Yeah.
before we move on, I'm gonna go check DeAndre Swift's health because I just want to make
Mm.
sure I'm making that could change my mind. So my apologies. I should have done this prior, but all right, his listing is questionable. Practice limited today. All right, I'll stick with the Bears. I'll stick with the Bears. But next
Yeah.
up, we got the
Fair.
Browns going into Miami.
Miami.
Yeah, I mean,
I just don't think the Browns are very inspiring. And yeah, Dolphins kind of look like this year's Bengals. I'm gonna keep saying it till my mouth falls off. But
yeah, I
Tyreek
have
Hill's
to
like
agree.
close to 200 yards every week. So
I have to agree. I'm taking the Dolphins. I just don't, the Browns are, like you said, uninspiring offensively and defensively. But how about Denver into Tennessee? I'll go first on this one. I'm taking Tennessee. I don't see them. They got a good defense, but I don't see the
oh,
Nathaniel Hackett out coaching Mike Vrabel on any day.
no, never. And yeah, I'm tired of taking the Broncos. I'm not. I'm sorry. This is that train ends right here. We're going with the Titans. Going with my division winner pick.
All right,
Should be.
here's my game of the week. Vikings in Buffalo.
I'm gonna surprise you here. I'm gonna take the Vikings.
That's man, I'm a little salty that I have to take the Bills now because I kind of like that pick,
You
man.
like that?
They just
It's
lost to the Jets. I mean,
yeah, and they didn't look that great against the Packers, who just lost to Detroit. Like the Bills have been kind of, I
you know what,
don't want
too,
to say
and
falling
Allen
off.
and Allen is hurt too. That's
Yeah, I
where
don't see how much that affects him. I believe he's still going to play, but um, yeah, if that does turn out to be a problem, then this pick gets a lot easier. I don't like that Minnesota has to go into Buffalo, especially considering they're a dome team. But Kirk Cousins at noon is way better than it's comparable to even Tom Brady at points. So yeah, no, we'll take Kirk Cousins at noon. But
I'm
are you
really
taking the
tempted.
Bills?
I'm
You're
really tempted. I'm undecided. Josh Allen's injury is messing with my head right now.
yeah, and this
Because
could
the
look really stupid. This could be like the Bills roll, and it's like, well, why would I pick a team
no,
going
it's
into
not
football?
stupid to pick a 7-1 team to beat the Bills. Um, especially with Josh Allen being injured. And you know what? For
Yeah,
for for variety's sake, I'm just going to move on and take Buffalo. I'm just going to take the risk. I actually think I like Minnesota better here. I actually do, but I'm going to go against my gut
interesting,
and
interesting.
play. This might be all the 50-50 games. We usually refer to them as bad teams or mediocre teams. Like I don't know. No, this is like two good teams with the one really good team's quarterback being dinged up. It's like, man,
Right,
I have no
no
idea.
idea.
And when that happens, I'm talking myself into this as I go, but when that happens, I like to go with the home team. So
Fair enough.
we
Fair
got a
enough.
dome team going into Buffalo in mid-November.
Don't love it. Yeah, I really don't love it. But
So Texans in against them in the Meadowlands against the Giants. not the Meadowlands, but yeah.
No, no, you might be. It's in if it's in New York, it should
No,
be.
it's in New York.
Um,
Isn't the Meadowlands what they call the? I guess they play in the same stadium.
yeah, Jets and Giants, but I'm gonna take the Giants. I feel like they might be on upset watch. Just dude, I still think they're overperforming a bit this year, and
Yeah, I'm not picking the Texans to do that personally.
I,
No.
yeah, that's really what it comes down to. It's like even if they're due for a loss, it's just not gonna be the Texans,
Yeah,
plain and simple.
yeah, have to agree. Another. I'm assuming this is easy for you, but Jaguars against Kansas City in Arrowhead.
Yeah, we can keep it moving.
I would have loved to have back up all the Trevor Lawrence hype with a solid
But
pick
you
with the
can't do
Jaguars
it.
this
You
week, but
can't going
especially
into
when they're going
KC.
into Kansas City, there's just no way.
No.
How about New Orleans and Pittsburgh? This is a little more interesting. Yeah?
It is interesting. And for as many games the Saints have lost, I think they're going to lose again.
Really?
I know this team's just due for a win, but I think Tomlin's going to outcoach her. I think just Pickett should just by nature get better as the season goes on. I mean, this team's kind of hit their low, and I think the Saints still might lose. They just, I'm starting to fall off more and more with the Saints. Like you can only
I think
back
that's
up
valid.
a three
This
and
is
six team
I
so
I
much.
might be a little bit behind you on that. I think that this will be the deciding week for me. If they go out and look bad and lose this game, I'll write them off.
Right.
But I'm picking the Saints. It's a safe play. They're the favorite, I would assume. But
Yeah, I'd hope.
I do see the Tomlin vision here. I
Yeah,
do.
and they beat the Buccaneers, so like I feel like if a Texans win like is would be surprising, but it's unlikely to happen. Like
Yeah.
a Steelers win is surprising, and it has shown to happen this year. So
So all right. So I'm assuming I know who you're picking here. So I'll let you go first before I defend my case yet again, as I did on Tuesday. But Colts going into Vegas.
Jeff Saturday with I don't know who at offensive coordinator. That's my case. If you can give me a better one of why they'll beat the Raiders, I'll hear it. But I'm taking Vegas.
I'm just gonna say if there's anybody who could find a way to lose to Jeff Saturday, it's Josh McDaniel.
It's Josh McDaniel, which, and you know what? That's a fair argument. We're really just pinpointing each other's coaches. Fair enough.
And I
Fair
will
enough.
say this, as I said on Tuesday, interim head coaches have like a ridiculously good record for their first game, and it really never makes any sense because it'll be like a terrible team that just randomly shows up and
doesn't make sense.
Wins games. But I think that here's what I think will happen. Jeff Saturday being an offensive lineman, if I had to guess, the only other offensive lineman coach that I can think, head coach that I can think of off the top of my head is Mike Vrabel. And what do the Titans do and live off of all these years? Pounding the football with their star running back. I think that if they stop the cute stuff, stop trying to force Sam Ehlinger to throw the ball 30 times, Matt Ryan 50 times, and they just say, guys, we're going to give the ball to Jonathan Taylor 40 times today. We're going to either lose by 7 because they will only have time to score 7 points, or we're going to win. And I just see Jeff Saturday getting those guys fired up and to pound the ball, to pound the rock. He's no lineman. And
okay.
That and the Josh
No,
McDaniels
that's fair take.
I see the vision for a Jonathan Taylor explosion, and that's why I'm starting him this week. But we can move on now. Yes, I'm taking the Colts with this is new levels to this, man. It's you make a pick, you make it. It's crazy what can happen in 10 weeks. It really is. I sat here 10 weeks ago and picked this team to go to the Super Bowl. So that's crazy. And now they don't have
the
coach.
Packers to win it. Yeah.
Well, at least that was normal, but at least they have their coach, and they're starting the same starting quarterback they did. Wow.
Oh boy.
Cardinals going into LA and playing the Rams.
Cardinals.
Interesting.
Hard Knocks bias. Not really a whole much to it. I mean, they got Hopkins back. They should be better. They looked all right in the beginning of that Seattle game last week.
So I'm pretty
And the Rams,
sure.
they're the Rams are like the Browns of the like NFC, like just uninspiring, and they don't get like a Deshaun Watson back. Like that's kind of my problem. So
I'm pretty
yeah, I just
sure
don't
that
like the Rams at
McVay is like
all.
10-1 against Kingsbury in his career. And
Holy cow!
if there's anybody who could find a way to lose to this Rams team right now, besides Josh McDaniel,
It's
it would be
Cliff.
Cliff
It's
Kingsbury.
totally Cliff.
I like the Cardinals on paper better here. I think they're a better team, but I'm going to
It's
go on a
Cliff.
limb and just look at history, and I'm going to take the Rams.
Yeah,
Partially to be different,
solid take.
but yeah, 10-1, so whatever it is ridiculous. I think I know who you're picking here, but Cowboys in Green Bay.
Wow.
Does he finally do
Yeah, I
it?
mean, no. Here's the thing. I'm not going to do it, but you're going to be like, why am I taking
Well,
the
I'm picking.
Packers? And
You know what I mean?
there's no logical reason. I'm just taking them
Loyalty, man.
because
Loyalty.
that's it. I can't
Respectable.
give you a good reason why they're
There's
winning this
there's
game.
two sides to a coin.
They
There's
should
loyalty
lose.
and pettiness, and you may flip to loyalty. I flip to pettiness, and I'm a man of my word. I'm taking the Cowboys.
I say.
Picking against the Packers.
No, it's fair.
Next
I'm hoping to just go 13-1 this week. I know I'm not going to go undefeated with my picks, just due to the Packers, but yeah, we'll strive for 13.
I love that. Sunday Night Football. Chargers in San Francisco. This one's interesting. I'm excited. This is a good Sunday Night Football game. I'm not going to lie. We haven't had a good one in a while. And,
yeah.
I can go first.
It'll be entertaining, but I think the 49ers roll.
Yeah, that's what I was
Sorry.
No, yeah.
Sorry. I would have changed my pick either way.
Yeah, defense wins championships.
Brandon Staley's Chargers.
Brandon Staley sucks. Chargers still don't have Keenan Allen or Mike Williams, so they might get Keenan. They might get Keenan Allen, but I don't think they will. So
either way, first game back against the Niners.
Defense wins championships too, and Niners have a better defense. So that takes us to Monday Night Football. We got the Commies in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
They get to 10-0. That's the question.
Not a whole lot to say here.
Yeah, okay. I figured.
I think so. You could make the case because it's a division game that there's an upset that's probable, but it's in prime time. I just don't love it.
You know what, man? I'm seeing that. Is it Heineke again this week?
Oh yeah, it's Heineke.
Let me check Wentz's health here. I just want to double check.
They've been on the brink. They've been on the brink. And even if Wentz is healthy, it's Wentz revenge game if he did play.
No, okay. I wouldn't take that. No, the only reason I'm considering is Heineke. And
it's because Heineke, yeah.
Division. But to pick against the 9-0 Eagles, 8-0, 9-0. I don't know if they had their bye or not.
Yeah, 9-0, I believe. I think they have a late bye.
That'd be dumb. I'm going to take the Eagles. Let it be noted that I am tempted to take Heineke, but the Eagles are just too good at winning in a variety of ways, right? They can throw it out when they need to. They can run the ball, and they play good defense. So they can come from behind. They can lead the whole way. And while there is an element to the Eagles that concerns me in terms of you start to get this far without losing, you start to get that media, can they get to 17-0? Can they do it? You start to get that. And then I don't think they're going to go 17-0. There's a loss coming, and I want to be there to pick it right because then I can say I was. But
yeah,
man, I'm going to do just a quick because I'm still tempted to do this. Eagles schedule, and we can close on this. They got Commies, Colts, Packers, Titans, Giants, Bears, Cowboys, Saints, Giants. What was the score of the Commanders game the first time we played?
I don't know if it was very close.
It was 24-8.
Yeah.
That was with.
And I think it was 24-0, and then it got to 8 in garbage time. That's why it's
that was with Carson.
And isn't this one in Philly too?
It is in Philly. Yeah, I'm taking the Eagles. I'm done. We're moving on. We're closing the podcast.
Yeah.
We're going to watch Thursday Night Football.
Yeah. I like the idea of picking their loss. I just think it's going to come later. I
No, I
think
think
they
it's going to
lose
be the
like an
college.
actual
It's going
game,
to
and then
be
they
well.
probably
I'm
lose another
tempted.
one.
The division is what incentivizes you here, right? Because it's like I'm tempted.
Right.
Like
But you
it's
got
going to be
two
a divisional
Giants, one
loss.
Cowboys.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
Eagles, it is. That closes up shop on this podcast. As always, thanks again for listening, guys. Be sure to check us out on TikTok, check us out on Instagram, YouTube. We're always pushing out more content. And yeah, any closing thoughts, Chen?
All socials, yeah.
Yeah.
Not too many closing thoughts. Hopefully this isn't a stinker for Thursday night. Um, and yeah, we'll be back at it Sunday with the recap of the week. Obviously Tuesdays for you NBA fans out there, or just fans of sports, whatever it is.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep things rolling, keep pushing out content and bringing new ideas like Dead and Alive, who he play for. Any suggestions for segments we will take as well. But obviously, make sure to drop in the comments suggestions, whatnot, for the segments we currently have, because we love doing names and we love interacting with you guys. So,
Well
yeah,
said.
that's all I got to say.
Well
And
said. That
yeah,
being said, we'll catch you guys on Sunday. So have a
yeah,
good one.
signing off.